Just moments ago, a heavy, suffocating silence that had loomed over the British monarchy for years was finally shattered. In an unprecedented move that has sent shockwaves from London to Montecito, King Charles III and Prince William have issued a joint statement, one that no royal observer truly believed they would ever see. The mask of business as usual hasn't just slipped, it has been intentionally discarded. They have confirmed what many had feared in hushed whispers, a final, heartbreaking decision regarding Prince Harry's future within the institution. The air at Clarence House was described as glacial by those inside. This wasn't a PR-managed update or a subtle leak to the tabloids. This was a clinical, surgical excision. As the cameras rolled for a brief, somber, televised address, the visual cues told a story of deep, ancestral pain. King Charles, usually a man of carefully maintained stoicism, appeared aged by decades in a single afternoon. His knuckles were bone-white as he gripped the edge of the mahogany podium, his eyes clouded with a grief that surpassed mere politics. Beside him, Prince William stood like a statue carved from granite, his jaw locked, his gaze fixed on a point far beyond the lens. This was the image of a king and an heir who had reached the absolute edge of their endurance. The statement contained a phrase that will be dissected by historians for generations, a permanent conclusion to the Sussex affiliation. No ambiguity, no bridge back, no beloved members of the family grace period. It was a formal acknowledgement of a fracture that can no longer be mended with diplomacy or time. Why now? Why has the king, who has spent his reign trying to keep the family together, finally signed off on such a devastating decree? Sources close to the sovereign suggest that the decision followed a point of no return, involving a breach of trust so severe it threatened the very foundation of the crown. The public is in a frenzy. Social media has erupted with a mixture of disbelief and mourning. The hashtag number, the final fracture, began trending within seconds. But beneath the digital noise lies a deeper, more chilling reality. This isn't just a family feud anymore. It is a calculated act of institutional survival. For Harry, the youngest son who once symbolized the future of the monarchy, the gates have not just been closed, they have been locked from the inside. The words etched into the official palace stationery were not merely a press release, they were a death warrant for a royal identity. To the untrained eye, the phrase, "a permanent conclusion to the Sussex affiliation," might seem like standard bureaucratic jargon, but in the cold, calculated world of the British monarchy, it is a surgical strike. This is the excision we warned you about. It signals the total removal of Prince Harry from the institutional body of the crown, a process that experts are now calling the Great Erasure. Behind this clinical terminology lies the iron will of Prince William, the man who has moved from a grieving brother to the monarch in waiting, who refuses to let the throne be compromised by sentimentality. Insiders report that the drafting of this statement was a battlefield. King Charles, still clinging to the Two Hewitt of paternal love, reportedly pleaded for softer language words like transition or temporary hiatus. But William, standing in the shadows of the stateroom, held his ground with a terrifying resolve. His face, marked by the physiognomy of duty, showed no room for negotiation. His jaw remained clenched, a physical manifestation of a man who has decided that the survival of the institution outweighs the survival of a brotherhood. William knows that the American audience, particularly those who value tradition and legacy, are watching. He is sending a message. The crown does not negotiate with those who attack it from the outside. Why such surgical coldness? Because the secret behind this announcement is a breach of trust that goes far deeper than a mere tabloid row. This is about the sanctity of the royal archives and the private conversations of a king. The palace has effectively pulled the plug on Harry's royal oxygen. By confirming this heartbreaking news, William and Charles are not just setting Harry free, they are ensuring he can never return. The curiosity loop is now centered on the legal ramifications. What happens to the titles? What happens to the line of succession? The statement was deafeningly silent on these points, creating a vacuum of dread that the public is now filling with their worst fears. Observe the language used in the second paragraph. All ceremonial ties and honorary appointments have been reclaimed by the sovereign. The word reclaimed is a psychological hammer. It implies that these were never Harry's to keep. They were on loan from a crown that has now deemed him unworthy. This is the ultimate pain point for a man whose entire identity was forged in military service and royal duty. William is not just closing a door, he is rewriting history, ensuring that the Sussex brand is stripped of its royal luster once and for all. As we move deeper into this crisis, the question isn't just about Harry's future, it's about the soul of a monarchy that has chosen survival over blood. While the grey, unyielding stones of Buckingham Palace stand as a fortress of tradition 6,000 miles away, the golden light of Montecito has begun to feel strangely cold. This heartbreaking news, the permanent conclusion of the Sussex affiliation, wasn't just a legal update. It was a psychological detonation. For Prince Harry, a man who once believed he could exist in the overlap between a royal legacy and a global commercial brand, the reality has finally turned into a long, dark shadow. The safety net that once caught every fall and softened every blow has been retracted. The shield is gone. The royal umbrella, which protected his prestige and granted him a level of global immunity, has been folded and locked away in a London vault. In the elite, sun-drenched circles of California, observers are noticing a profound and unsettling change. The physiognomy of isolation is becoming impossible to hide, even with the best PR management. Look closely at the most recent, unposed captures of the Duke of Sussex. The slump in the shoulders is not merely physical fatigue, it is the visible weight of an identity that has been stripped of its ancestral core. The restless tension in the jaw, the same jawline that once mirrored the stoic pride of the Windsors, now betrays a mounting, silent anxiety. This is the face of a man who realized too late that his Montecito dream was fueled by the very institution he spent years critiquing. Without the royal sparkle, the brand is no longer a monarchy. It is just another celebrity narrative in an overcrowded market. There is a secret desperation brewing behind the high, manicured walls of the Sussex estate. Sources close to the inner circle suggest that Harry was never granted the courtesy of a private warning. He found out about his excision exactly when the rest of the world did. This was a deliberate, cold-blooded power move by Prince William, a psychological message intended to signal that Harry is no longer a brother to be protected, but a private citizen to be managed at a distance. The curiosity loop now tightens around the dynamic within the home. Is Harry still the architect of this independence, or is he now the primary witness to its unintended, devastating consequences? The tragedy of this moment lies in the total loss of belonging. Harry was raised in a world where his value was intrinsic, protected by the name of his grandmother and the blood of his father. To have that protection legally and publicly revoked by his own kin is a trauma that no commercial deal, no memoir, and no Netflix special can heal. The king and the heir have effectively turned the gilded cage of royal duty into a gilded exile of celebrity irrelevance. By making the announcement so final and so public, they have ensured that any future attempts by the Sussexes to leverage royal titles for influence will be met with the cold, hard silence of the palace machine. The walls of Montecito may be high, but they no longer feel protective. They are beginning to feel like the boundaries of a territory that the world is slowly being instructed to forget. While the world stares at the isolation of Montecito, a far more calculated and chilling operation is unfolding within the private offices of the Prince of Wales. This is the secret strategy that the palace won't officially name, but the evidence is written in every gesture and every silence coming from the heir to the throne. Prince William is no longer just a brother reacting to a betrayal. He has transitioned into the role of an institutional architect. His objective is clear and absolute: the total decoupling of the British monarchy from the Sussex brand. This is not a temporary cooling of relations. It is a structural reset designed to ensure that the future King William V inherits a crown that is untainted by the distractions of California. Insiders who have observed William in recent high-level meetings speak of a man who has adopted a physiognomy of iron. There is a terrifying clarity in his gaze, a look that senior royal aides say they haven't seen since the late Queen Mary. It is the look of a man who has weighed family blood against the survival of a 1,000-year-old institution and found the blood wanting. William's hands, often seen clasped firmly behind his back during public appearances, signal a man who is containing a profound, righteous anger, channeling it into a surgical reorganization of the royal family's core. He is moving the monarchy from a big tent philosophy to a lean, mean machine, where loyalty is the only currency that matters. The pain point for those who still hope for a reconciliation is the realization that William has stopped looking back. He is reportedly the driving force behind the new Ironclad Protocol, a set of internal guidelines that effectively treat Harry as a foreign entity rather than a family member. Under this protocol, information is restricted, access is denied, and the royal safety net is replaced by a professional wall of ice. This is the great erasure in action. By confirming the heartbreaking news alongside his father, William has signaled that the transition is complete. He has successfully convinced King Charles that to save the monarchy, they must lose the son. This tactical shift creates a powerful curiosity loop for the global public. How does a monarchy maintain its image of heart and family while behaving with such clinical detachment? The answer lies in the shift from individual celebrity to institutional duty. William is betting that the public, especially those who value stability and tradition, will eventually prefer a stoic, reliable crown over a chaotic, emotional narrative. He is betting that by the time he ascends the throne, the Sussex era will be remembered as nothing more than a brief, turbulent footnote. The message is being sent across the Atlantic with unwavering precision. The palace is moving on, and it is doing so with a cold, calculated efficiency that leaves no room for the prodigal son to ever find his way home. But do not be fooled by the pristine image of institutional unity presented to the world. Behind the heavy oak doors of Buckingham Palace, a different kind of drama is unfolding, one characterized by hushed tones and averted gazes. While Prince William's Ironclad Protocol appears absolute, it has created a silent, vibrating fracture within the palace walls. There is a shadow dissent brewing among the most loyal courtiers and certain senior family members who believe that this surgical excision of Prince Harry has gone too far. They whisper in the corridors that a monarchy stripped of its capacity for mercy is a monarchy that has lost its soul. The physiognomy of dissent is visible to those who know where to look. It is in the tight-lipped smiles of the veteran household staff, who remember Harry not as a global brand, but as the grieving boy behind his mother's coffin. It is in the heavy, lingering silences during strategy meetings when William's name is mentioned alongside the word finality. Sources close to the inner circle suggest that even Princess Anne, the ultimate symbol of duty, has expressed private concerns about the optics of cruelty. While she supports the crown's survival, her gaze, often sharp and unwavering, has reportedly softened when the conversation turns to the permanent exile of her nephew. She knows that once you set a precedent of discarding family for the sake of the institution, no one, not even the most loyal, is truly safe. This is the ultimate pain point for the institution, the fear of setting a precedent. If the son of a king can be erased so clinically, what does that say about the value of loyalty within the House of Windsor? The secret tension is between the old guard, who believe in the redemptive power of time, and William's new guard, who view the monarchy as a corporate entity that must be de-risked. This ideological war is creating a vacuum of morale. Senior aides are reportedly divided, with some fearing that William's ruthlessness will eventually alienate the very public he seeks to protect. They worry that the American audience, who once saw the royals as a symbol of enduring family bonds, will now see them as a cold, unfeeling machine. The curiosity loop tightens as we look at the king. Charles is caught in the crossfire of this internal rebellion. Every time he looks at William, he sees the future, strong, decisive, and cold. But every time he hears the dissent in the palace whispers, he feels the weight of his own failure to heal the rift. The heartbreaking news he confirmed wasn't just about Harry. It was an admission that he has lost control of his own household's narrative. The dissenters are not rebels in the traditional sense. They are the keepers of the monarchy's humanity. By silencing them or ignoring their concerns, William is building a throne on a foundation of ice. The question that haunts the palace tonight is simple, yet devastating. In saving the crown, has William inadvertently destroyed the family? In the cold architecture of the new monarchy, one figure remains the most enigmatic and, perhaps, the most influential: Catherine, the Princess of Wales. While the global public continues to view her through the lens of the peacemaker, a deeper royal crisis analysis reveals a much more formidable reality. Catherine is no longer the bridge between the feuding brothers. She has become the silent anchor of William's iron will. If William is the architect of the Great Erasure, Catherine is its primary witness and, increasingly, its quiet enforcer. Her role in the heartbreaking news confirmed by Charles and William cannot be overstated, for it is her support that gave William the psychological clearance to cast his brother into permanent exile. The physiognomy of power in Catherine's recent appearances is a masterclass in controlled steel. Observe the tilt of her chin and the unwavering, forward-facing gaze during state functions. Gone is the soft, searching look of the young duchess who once tried to mediate the Sandringham summit. In its place is the mask of the future queen, a face that signals absolute alignment with the institution. Her hands, often folded with surgical precision, show no signs of the nervous fluttering that characterized the early years of the Sussex conflict. She has made her choice. The secret whispered among palace staff is that Catherine's resolve now equals, or perhaps even exceeds, that of her husband. She has seen the toll the California campaign took on the late Queen and her own father-in-law, and she has decided that the price of mercy is simply too high. This creates the ultimate pain point for those sentimentalists who remember the Fab Four era. The realization that Catherine, the woman Harry once described as the sister he never had, has signed off on his institutional demise is a devastating blow to the Sussex narrative. By standing firmly behind the Ironclad Protocol, Catherine has effectively neutralized Harry's ability to claim he is only fighting a cold, unfeeling machine. How can he make that claim when the most popular and human member of the family is the one holding the line against him? She is the moral high ground that William uses to justify his ruthlessness. She provides the grace that masks the surgical excision. The curiosity loop now centers on whether Catherine is acting out of a sense of self-preservation or a genuine belief in William's vision. Is she the keeper of the final key, the only one who could have unlocked the door for Harry, but chose to throw it away? Sources close to the Middleton family suggest that Catherine's priority is now entirely focused on the legacy of her children. She views any instability caused by the Sussexes as a direct threat to George, Charlotte, and Louis. In her mind, Harry is no longer a brother. He is a risk factor to be managed and mitigated. As we move further into this crisis, remember this: William provides the power, but Catherine provides the legitimacy. Together, they are creating a monarchy that is unified, impenetrable, and entirely finished with the prodigal son. Beyond the iron resolve of Prince William and the visible grief of King Charles, there is a third, more shadowed power that has quietly shaped the heartbreaking news regarding Harry's future: Queen Camilla. To understand the total exile of the Duke of Sussex, one must look at the woman who has perfected the art of institutional survival over 4 decades. While Catherine provides the grace and William provides the steel, Camilla provides the strategic pragmatism that has finally closed the door on the prodigal son. Her role in this crisis is the ultimate masterclass in shadow power. She is the whisper in the king's ear, the one who reminds him, in the dead of night, that the survival of the crown must always come before the yearnings of a father's heart. The physiognomy of survival is etched into Camilla's every public appearance. Observe the subtle, knowing curve of her smile and the way her eyes, sharp and observant, constantly scan the room, looking for weaknesses in the narrative. In recent months, as the crisis reached its boiling point, Camilla's posture has shifted. She stands closer to Charles, her hand often resting on his arm, not just in affection, but as a physical anchor of the new, harder line the palace has taken. This is the face of a woman who has endured decades of public vilification and emerged as the queen consort, She has no appetite for the emotional chaos that the Sussexes represent. To her, Harry is not just a troubled nephew. He is a threat to the stability she fought so hard to secure for Charles. The most shocking secret within the palace is the unprecedented strategic alignment between Queen Camilla and the Prince of Wales. Historically, their relationship was a minefield of trauma and resentment, yet this crisis has forced an unlikely alliance. William, the son of Diana, has found common ground with the woman who once symbolized his mother's pain. Why? Because they share a single, overriding pain point: the belief that the Sussex brand is an existential risk to the monarchy. Insiders suggest that Camilla has been William's greatest ally in convincing the king to sign the permanent conclusion. She understands the psychological levers of Charles better than anyone. She knows when to soothe his guilt and when to sharpen his resolve. This alliance is the final nail in the coffin for any hope Harry had of using family sentiment to find a way back. This creates a terrifying curiosity loop for those watching the transition of power. If Camilla and William, two figures once so divided, can unite to erase Harry, then the Sussexes have truly lost the war. Camilla's influence ensures that the king's vulnerability points are shielded. She has effectively neutralized the maternal sentiment that might have once saved Harry, replacing it with a cold, institutional pragmatism. She is the gatekeeper of the king's legacy, and she has decided that Harry has no place in it. As the sun sets on the Sussexes' royal status, remember that the most devastating moves are often made in the shadows. Camilla doesn't need to speak to the cameras to execute her will. Her silence is the loudest confirmation that for Prince Harry, there is no return. As the echoes of the heartbreaking news reverberate through the global media, a more subtle and arguably more devastating phase of Prince William's grand strategy is coming into focus. While the Duke of Sussex is being systematically decoupled from the institution, the vacuum he left behind is not being left empty. It is being filled with surgical precision by the rise of the new guard George, Charlotte, and Louis. This is the generational replacement strategy, a calculated effort to ensure that the public's emotional investment is redirected away from the aging prodigal son and toward the pristine, disciplined future of the Wales bloodline. William and Catherine are not just raising children, they are cultivating institutional assets designed to make the memory of Prince Harry's once beloved role as the charismatic spare feel like a distant, troubled dream. The physiognomy of succession in the Wales children is a study in early-onset institutional gravity. Observe Prince George in recent state appearances. At just 12, he carries a mask of duty that far exceeds the maturity Harry showed in his 20s. His posture is upright, his gaze steady, mirroring the stoic resolve of his father. But the most significant shift is in Princess Charlotte. She has been strategically positioned as the new Princess Anne, the enforcer of the family's internal discipline. Watch her interactions with her brothers during public events. The way she nudges them toward protocol is not mere sibling rivalry. It is the visible manifestation of a child who has been taught that the image of the crown is more important than individual spontaneity. She is the new spare, but unlike Harry, she is being forged in the fires of loyalty rather than the winds of rebellion. This creates a powerful pain point for the Sussex narrative. Harry's primary product was his relatability, the idea that he was the human one in a cold family. By presenting George, Charlotte, and Louis as both relatable and impeccably behaved, the Waleses are effectively neutralizing Harry's unique selling point. Why would the public yearn for a renegade prince in California when they have a vibrant, disciplined, and loyal trio of siblings in London? The secret whispered in the palace nurseries is that the training has become far more rigorous since the Sussex departure. Every public smile, every wave, every silence is part of a broader visual campaign to prove that the monarchy can be modern without being chaotic. The curiosity loop for the American audience now tightens around the inevitable comparison. When the world sees Prince Louis's playful but managed charisma, they are being subconsciously reminded of what Harry used to be before the fracture. But the palace is ensuring that this comparison always favors the future. They are overwriting the hard drive of public memory. By the time George reaches adulthood, the Sussex era will be taught as a cautionary tale of what happens when a royal forgets their place. William and Catherine are playing the long game, betting that the sheer force of youth and continuity will eventually bury Harry's grievances in the archives of history. The rise of the new generation is the final, silent confirmation that for the Duke of Sussex, there is no empty chair waiting for him at the table. It has already been claimed by those who chose the crown over the self. In the quiet, cavernous halls of Highgrove, far from the clinical efficiency of William's London offices, a different kind of tragedy is unfolding. This is the physiognomy of a broken patriarch. If you look closely at King Charles in the wake of the heartbreaking news he was forced to confirm, you see a man who is no longer just battling the weight of a crown, but the crushing gravity of a failed fatherhood. His shoulders, once held with the upright dignity of a naval officer, now seem to cave inward, as if bracing for a blow that has already landed. His hands, often seen fidgeting with his signet ring, betray a rhythmic, nervous energy, the physical manifestation of a mind that is constantly replaying the what-ifs of the last 5 years. He is the last bridge between two warring bloodlines, and he has just realized that the bridge has finally collapsed. The secret agony of King Charles is the realization that by empowering William to save the monarchy, he has effectively signed the death warrant of his own family's unity. Charles is a man who spent decades waiting for his moment to lead, imagining a reign defined by a slimmed-down but united family. Instead, he has become the sovereign of a fracture. The pain point for the king is the clinical finality of the statement he issued alongside William. While William sees the permanent conclusion as a strategic victory, Charles sees it as a spiritual defeat. He is the father who had to choose between his heir and his spare, and under the immense pressure of the Ironclad Protocol, he chose the institution. But the cost of that choice is a solitude that no amount of royal pageantry can fill. This creates a devastating curiosity loop for the public. How long can a king lead a nation when he cannot lead his own sons to the table of peace? Insiders whisper that the king's private quarters are filled with the ghosts of a happier era. Photographs of two brothers laughing in the garden, images of a family that no longer exists. Charles is reportedly haunted by the physiognomy of absence, the empty chair at state banquets, the missing voice in family discussions, the realization that the Sussex exile is now a permanent feature of his reign. He is a king who is being managed by his own heir, a sovereign who finds himself increasingly isolated by the very discipline he helped instill. The true tragedy of the king's position is the institutional trap. He knows that any gesture of mercy toward Harry would be viewed by William as a betrayal of the crown's security. Charles is caught in a pincer movement between a son who won't come home and a son who won't let him. He is the man who confirmed the news that broke his own heart, proving that in the House of Windsor, the crown is a jealous god that demands the sacrifice of the heart. As the world looks toward the future of King William V, they are witnessing the slow, quiet fading of a king who wanted to be a healer, but ended up as the man who presided over the final, heartbreaking dissolution of his own house. The dust has finally settled on the heartbreaking news confirmed by Charles and William, but the silence that follows is not one of peace. It is a silence of absolute, institutional finality. We have witnessed the surgical excision of a prince, the rise of a new generational guard, and the quiet, strategic triumph of those who operate in the shadows. This crisis has revealed the true face of the modern British monarchy, a face that is no longer defined by the romanticized family bonds of the Elizabethan era, but by the cold, calculated survival instincts of the House of Windsor in the 21st century. The physiognomy of the institution has shifted from a sprawling, inclusive family tree to a lean, impenetrable fortress. The ultimate pain point for the global audience is the realization that the monarchy has successfully de-risked itself at the cost of its own humanity. Prince William's vision of a slimmed-down crown is now a reality, but it is a crown that no longer has room for the spares who refuse to conform. By locking the gates from the inside, the palace has sent a message that transcends the Sussexes. Loyalty to the crown is the only path to survival. The secret strategy worked. The Sussex era is being systematically overwritten by the disciplined, impeccable rise of George, Charlotte, and Louis. Public memory is being reprogrammed to view the rebellion of the past decade as a temporary malfunction in an otherwise flawless system. As we look toward the horizon of King William V, the curiosity loop remains. Can an institution thrive on discipline alone? Or will the physiognomy of absence, the missing brother, the broken father, eventually haunt the halls of Buckingham Palace? The monarchy has won the strategic war, but the cost is a permanent fracture in the heart of the family. The heartbreaking news wasn't just about Harry's future. It was a confession that the crown is a burden so heavy it can crush even the strongest blood ties. The institution has chosen to endure, and in doing so, it has proven that in the Game of Thrones, the system always, inevitably, comes before the soul. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive analysis of power, secrecy, and the future of the British throne. As the palace lights dim tonight, the question remains for you. Do you believe a monarchy that chooses institutional survival over family mercy can truly remain the heart of a nation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We are here to help you navigate the hidden narratives of power, so you don't just consume the news, but understand the systems that govern our world.